Hello, if you are British and you're planning to visit America and you're also planning to get sick, who plans to get sick? Nobody. Some people are already inherently sick in the head. That would be me. Then you might want to know that actually in America they use quite a lot of different terminology when it comes to the medical world that we're used to in Britain. A lot of these took me by surprise after I moved here because I was in hospital a lot. And unbelievably, after doing a blog on British versus American terminology differences for the last 4 years, 5 years now, blimey heck, I haven't yet touched on the subject of medical terminology. So that is what we're going to do today. And so we're going to look at 10. If you're new to the channel, just to update you, I have recently gone to hospital quite a few times myself. And as you may have heard there, I said gone to hospital instead of to the hospital. So Americans would never really say gone to hospital. They wouldn't drop the. But sometimes, yeah, we'll drop it. But alternatively, when we're talking about days of the week, we will put a the in there. You know, I'll meet you at hospital on the Wednesday. It's a bit like Forrest Gump, he says that. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. On to point number 2. So when I moved here, I had a relative who had mono, right? And I had no idea what it was. So I thought to myself, mono seems really mysterious. Her symptoms seem pretty bad. So I thought stereo must be twice as bad, right? But then I worked out what mono was. And it's what we call in the UK glandular fever. In other words, this person had just been kissing too many boys. Now, I have become very familiar with this one in the last few weeks because I've been prodded to death, by the medical staff. It is all legal, and I'm not dead, obviously. In fact, they probably helped me to some extent not die. I've had all kind of syringes shoved into my arm in the last few weeks, and in America, they call those shots. Now, I don't know about you, wife, but a shot to me involves usually whiskey. And it's preferable, I think, to having a needle put in your arm. Although, sometimes it would be nice to have a whiskey first and then the syringe. They warn you against that. So I haven't done it, but maybe one day I will. But in the UK, we call those jabs. Because you think of like sword fencing, right? Where you jab at your opponent and all of that. It's kind of similar. I mean, they are brandishing a weapon and penetrating me with it. I'm still talking about the doctors. And that's that. So we call it jab and you call it shot. Whatever. Tomato, tomato. It's the other way around. No, it isn't. That's right. Okay, next one. Now, if things got really bad and they had to do, emergency surgery on me, they would take me to that room where George Clooney hangs out. It's ER, for anybody who's not paying attention. That was, of course, a show, but ER is the name of the emergency room. It's short for emergency room. Similarly, though, just as America did make a show called ER, in the UK, we made a show called A&E, and it doesn't stand for Arts and Entertainment, but it stands for Accident and Emergency, and you may well be admitted to the A&E or ENR if you suffer from one of these. So if you're somebody that, for example, suffers from epilepsy and you have a particularly bad episode, you might have, in the United Kingdom, a fit. You might go into an epileptic fit. In the United States, they refer to that as a seizure. So it's weird, though, because the word fit has so many meanings in the United Kingdom. Obviously, it has the same meaning that it has in the United States, in that you can fit something into a box, but you can have an epileptic fit, and you can also refer to somebody who you think is attractive as fit. Of course, you can be fit and healthy, but that's not what this is about. We're talking about the sick and needy today, me, mainly. I hinted at this in the thumbnail to this video, and that's quite appropriate because you might use one of these if, for instance, you broke your thumbnail and it started to bleed. Now, in America, they use these, Band-Aids. Band-Aids is a brand name, whereas in the UK, Band-Aid is a band name, the super band Band-Aid. But you can wear those. Now, Band-Aid, of course, is a brand, but it's become quite genericized. I think people use it to refer to all brands of this, where you just take one out, you put it on the wound and cover it up. Whereas in the UK, we refer to these mostly as plasters. Now, sometimes we will refer to them as elastoplast. Weirdly, that's also a brand name, that became genericized. So similarities there. And so hold tight to find out the best place to pick these up, because we're going to cover that in point number 7. Ah, come here. Now, where I'm from in the UK, this building is known as the Chemists, right? But in the US, it has one of 2 names. It can either go by pharmacy or the drugstore, which sounds like the place where you'd get your cocaine from. You know, not that I'm hunting for it, but it does sound like that. It's not. It's completely harmless and helpful in many ways, much like point number 8. The amount of times I've visited my doctor in the last few months is bordering on the absurd. I think he's probably getting sick of me, which would be ironic for a doctor. But of course, there is a slight difference here in that when you go to that building where your doctor works and you meet with him, in the US, that's referred to as the doctor's office, right? But in the UK, it's referred to as the surgery, which is I suppose quite confusing to Americans, because surgery literally just means the act of having surgery. But you don't really want to go to the doctor's surgery if you've passed out. You want to go to ER or A&E. I'm going to stop talking like a Scotsman now. And so to do that, there might be somebody on your behalf that calls the emergency services. What number do they call? Well, in the UK, they don't call the same one as they call in the US. Quite famously, we dial 999 and you dial 911. So ours is slightly quicker by about a split second. You just do that. Hello? Yes, I need an ambulance, please. Why is that? Because I've just died.
Seems slightly unrealistic.
So let's say that you make it all the way to A&E/ER and you're not dead at all. You merely fainted, right? And you wake up and they're shining a light in your eyes and all that. I don't know why they would do that. Maybe they're just testing your pupils, right? And that causes some nausea, and you then throw up the food that you ate earlier in the day. This is a marvellous way to end this video, isn't it? Now, Americans would just call that vomiting. In fact, we would use that term occasionally in the United Kingdom as well. But one difference here is that British people like to say that they're being sick. So you can be sick as being unhealthy, but in Britain, you if you're being sick, you are literally, hurling up chunks of chicken. So I don't know why it was chicken. Just a hot bad memory. What?
I don't know.
That's it for this episode of Lost in the Pond. Don't forget to join me this Sunday for Ask a Brit. And it's a very special episode of Ask a Brit this Sunday because we're going to be talking about books. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter, where we have some very unusual conversations about British versus American language differences. You can also follow me on Instagram, where I look like this. And you can follow me on Facebook and go to lostinthepond.com. And don't forget to follow me on patreon.com/lostinthepond if you want to support this channel. Until next time, cheerio. Goodbye.